In this unit, we're going to look at the marking scheme for the YLE exams. It's extremely important to note that there is no pass or fail for YLE exams. The exams themselves, as well as their results, are designed in a way that they should be motivational and encouraging for children. Candidates who manage to complete their exam are given a statement of results in which they are awarded a maximum of 5 shields for the things that they can do. The statement of results also gives information on their strengths, areas to improve, and ideas on how to do so. How is the reading and writing paper marked? In the reading and writing parts of the exam, correct spelling is required, as candidates are often given prompts they have to choose from. Therefore, it's important to practice with your students to copy words from the word list correctly. In the listening part of the exam, specifically in Part 2, incorrect spelling may be accepted, unless a word is spelled out clearly during a listening task. In the speaking part of the exam, and to be awarded 5 shields in speaking, candidates should demonstrate appropriate range, control, and extent of grammar and vocabulary suitable to each CEFR level. In starters, they should be able to use suitable vocabulary from the word list to deal with all tasks. They should produce simple utterances but may make occasional mistakes. They may also produce some longer utterances that extend beyond one-word answers. Pronunciation will be generally intelligible, even if some sounds are unclear, and there may be limited control of word stress. Interaction is generally understood as they respond appropriately to questions and visual prompts, although they may need some support and prompting. There is also expected to be some hesitation in responding. In movers, candidates are expected to do the same as starters, but also be able to join ideas with some simple linking words, such as and, but, then, and when. They are also expected to respond promptly, even though there may be some hesitation and pausing mid-utterance. In flyers, candidates should be able to do all of the above, with the addition of because in the linking words, and they should also be able to respond with longer phrases or utterances. A flyers candidate is expected to ask for support if required, and also to respond promptly with only natural hesitation and pausing. Cambridge exams at A2 to C1 level are taken by people of many ages all around the world. These exams are often taken by English language learners who wish to demonstrate their language abilities to help them achieve their higher education goals and to potentially increase their chances of working and/or studying abroad in an English-speaking country. Most young learners may have already been introduced to Cambridge-style learning materials. This really depends on their location and their English studies thus far. The A2 Key for Schools exam would be ideal for young learners to be introduced to the Cambridge English exam format. Overall, this level helps students demonstrate their understanding and use of basic phrases and expressions without feeling overwhelmed by the amount of grammar and vocabulary needed within other levels. With this exam, learners show their interaction skills by introducing themselves and answering questions about their lives, hobbies, and interests. Learners will also be asked to show their understanding of basic written English. Students who are quite confident with the basics and looking for a challenge are perfect candidates for the B1 Preliminary for School exam. This qualification can show that a student very much understands English for everyday use. This includes being able to understand opinion and mood, understand factual information by reading longer texts, and the ability to write informal emails and articles on everyday topics. The B2 First for Schools is one of the most popular Cambridge exams because it allows learners to gain a valuable certificate that is recognised all over the world. The B2 First for Schools is challenging, but it's the perfect exam to show that an English language learner has the capabilities and confidence to survive in an English-speaking environment. The student is tested on all skills, including a comprehensive understanding of some tougher grammar structures. Students are also expected to deliver their opinions and present arguments in both spoken and written English. Language learners also need to develop their debating skills by offering two sides of an argument objectively. The C1 Advanced exam is designed for more proficient users of the English language. At this level, students should be able to tackle a wide range of demanding, longer texts that require an understanding of advanced vocabulary. Students will also need to demonstrate a level of fluency without much hesitation. In terms of writing, well-structured texts based on a number of complex subjects are required, showing controlled use of cohesive devices, connectors, and organizational patterns. If a student is looking to study at a university level in an English-speaking country, the C1 Advanced qualification would be ideal as it's widely recognized. As well as this, learners who are interested in working for a multinational company would also benefit from the C1 Advanced, as English has become almost essential if a job requires an employee to communicate with suppliers and customers worldwide. If students are preparing through a school or private language academy, there may already be a system in place to put students through the exam. In most countries, a representative from the local test centre or school liaison officer will be in touch with your school and help you sign your students up for the right exam and help you with exam day logistics. Some test centres will offer the possibility of doing the exam at your school midweek. Others may prefer students to go to the designated test centre in your town or city. You can find out where your nearest test centre is by using this link. As teachers, you can talk to your head of department or head of studies to get the ball rolling. There are many advantages to having a Cambridge representative come to your school and do the test on site. Students will feel more comfortable and be in their everyday surroundings, especially at lower levels. Don't worry if it's not an option in your area though, they will survive, and it's all confidence building for the future. Another thing to consider is whether doing a more traditional paper-based test is better for your students and their profile, or whether they would prefer to do the computer-based version. As of March 2024, Cambridge has launched the Cambridge English Qualifications Digital, part of its website, which can give you more insight into the computer-based exam. You can also give them some extra practice before deciding which version to go for. On the main pages of each exam, there is free access to a computer-based sample test for each part of the exam. In a nutshell, there are several options for taking the exams. So, what is fundamental is choosing the best option for your students, whether that be on paper or on a computer. Also, if you have the opportunity to decide between your school or academy or local test centre, keep your students' preferences in mind and what's best for them, so that exam day nerves don't get the better of them. In this unit, we're going to look at the A2 key for schools, also known as KET. What does an A2 key candidate profile look like? A2 candidates should be able to communicate in simple situations on familiar topics. This test is the first in the main suit series and mirrors the YLE Flyers exam in CEFR level. It is designed for older teens who will be taking an exam for the first time, and also for children who progressed through the YLE exams, bridging the gap between the more child-friendly exam design to a more adult-looking one. What does the exam look like? The A2 key, formerly known as the Key English Test, or KET for short, is divided into 3 parts: reading and writing, listening, and speaking. The reading and writing exam is divided into 7 parts and lasts 1 hour. In this paper, candidates show their understanding of simple written information such as signs, leaflets, magazines, and newspapers. The listening paper is divided into 5 parts and lasts around 30 minutes. In this paper, candidates are required to understand announcements and familiar conversations where people will speak relatively slowly. And finally, the speaking paper is divided into 2 parts and can last between 8 to 10 minutes. In this part, candidates will demonstrate the ability to take part in simple conversations by asking and answering questions on familiar topics. The speaking test will always be face-to-face with a partner, even for those who opt for the computer-based test, with 2 examiners. One examiner will be the interlocutor, who asks the questions, and the other will be the assessor, who will take notes of the marks. How does the For Schools exam differ from the standard one? This version simply includes more familiar topics for school-age students, such as sports, hobbies, school subjects, after-school activities, and so on, as opposed to reading texts or questions about jobs and work. Let's move on to the B1 Preliminary for Schools exam, also known as PET. What does a B1 preliminary candidate profile look like? B1 candidates should be able to communicate in simple situations, have mastered the basics of English grammar and communication, as well as having practical language skills for everyday use. This test is the second in the main suit series and is now starting to mirror the higher level exams. It is designed for older teens who are at an intermediate level of English. Many students decide to skip this stepping stone, preferring to wait until they're ready for the B2 or even the C1 exams. However, this is something, as teachers, we would like to discourage. The B1 preliminary is a midway point which helps to consolidate the basics and begin to expand discourse before reaching the pressures of the next levels. What does this exam look like? B1 Preliminary, formerly known as the Preliminary English Test, or PET for short, is divided into 4 parts: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The reading paper is divided into 6 parts and lasts around 45 minutes. In this paper, candidates show their understanding of gist, pulling out main information from a range of simple text types such as signs, leaflets, magazines, and newspapers, as seen in the previous level. The writing paper is divided into 2 parts and lasts 45 minutes. In this paper, candidates show they can use vocabulary and structure correctly in one more controlled activity, leaving room for freer use of the language in the second task. The listening paper is divided into 4 parts and lasts around 30 minutes. In the listening paper, candidates are required to understand a range of spoken interactions such as announcements and discussions where people will speak at a reasonable pace. And finally, the speaking paper is divided into 4 parts and can last between 10 to 12 minutes. In this part, candidates demonstrate the ability to take part in a simple conversation by asking and answering questions on familiar topics, as well as talking about their likes and dislikes. The speaking test is now identical in task type and number of parts to the main upper suit exams, helping candidates to feel as confident as they can. Again, the speaking test will always be face-to-face with a partner, even for those who opt for the computer-based test, with 2 examiners. One examiner will be the interlocutor, who asks the questions, and the other will be the assessor, who will take note of the marks. How does the For Schools exam differ from the standard one? This version simply includes more familiar topics for school-age students such as sports, hobbies, school subjects, after-school activities, and so on, as opposed to reading texts or questions about jobs and work. Now let's look at the B2 First for Schools. Who is the ideal candidate for B2 First for Schools? Cambridge English First for Schools has been designed with school and university students in mind. It's the perfect qualification between an intermediate and advanced level. Learners who have interest in working or studying abroad in an English-speaking country would benefit from having this qualification. This level proves that a student can handle different situations and scenarios in English and that they are becoming skilled in the language. What should candidates be expected to do at this level? The Association of Language Testers in Europe, also known as ALTE, has determined what learners should typically do at each CEFR level. Here is a summary of these abilities for the B2 First for Schools exam. In reading and writing, candidates can express their views and opinions and the views and opinions of others effectively in writing and give clear reasons. Candidates can read and understand familiar and unfamiliar factual texts based on a number of different topics, as well as find specific and relevant information within a text. In listening and speaking, candidates can recognize feelings and attitudes such as agreement and disagreement, criticism and disapproval. Candidates should be able to follow along with TV series and films if they are in standard English and spoken at a normal pace. Candidates can start, continue, and end conversations by asking for clarification and further information and understand the answer. What are the key components for the B2 First for Schools? Like most Cambridge English exams, the B2 First for Schools is divided into 4 papers: reading and use of English, writing, listening, and speaking. Here is an overview of each paper. The reading and use of English paper lasts 1 hour and 15 minutes. The task types include multiple choice, open-close, word formation, keyword transformations, gapped text, and multiple matching. This paper consists of 7 parts in total. Each part has a different task which tests learners' understanding of grammar, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. These tasks vary in style, but the main focus is to show candidates' ability to understand a range of English publications and specific grammar rules and structures. The writing paper lasts 1 hour and 20 minutes, and the task types include an essay, and either an article, a formal or informal letter or email, a review, or a story. This paper consists of 2 parts in total. The first part is a compulsory essay based on a B2 topic. The second part offers students an opportunity to choose out of 3 possible tasks. Candidates are required to show that they can produce 2 different styles of writing using correct organization and vocabulary to suit each style and topic. The listening paper lasts around 40 minutes, and task types include multiple choice, sentence completion, and multiple matching. This paper consists of 4 parts, and each part requires different skills. Candidates need to show that they are capable of understanding the meaning and opinion of a range of spoken materials, including general conversations, interviews, broadcasts, and speeches. And finally, we have the speaking paper, which lasts around 14 minutes. There are 4 parts in the speaking paper, and task types include an icebreaker question and answer, an individual long-term photo comparison, a collaborative task with the other candidate, and a discussion. Candidates are expected to participate in a number of tasks, either individually or with their partner, with some interaction from the interlocutor, the examiner who leads the test. This part allows the candidate to demonstrate their language skills during different types of interaction. Now let's look at the C1 Advanced in more detail. Who is the ideal candidate for the C1 Advanced? The C1 Advanced exam is one of the higher level Cambridge qualifications aimed at proficient users of the English language. If a student is looking to work in an English-speaking country or study at university level in a foreign country, then the C1 Advanced is the exam for them. At this level, students should be altogether confident in their language skills, not only in terms of grammar and vocabulary, but also in their fluency and ability to use advanced expressions and colloquial language. A fundamental part of preparation for this exam is for the learner to completely immerse themselves in the language. What are candidates expected to do at this level? The Association of Language Testers in Europe, also known as the ALTE, has determined what learners should typically do at each CEFR level. Here is a summary of these abilities taken from real-life situations. In reading and writing, candidates can read texts quickly enough to handle an academic course and understand the general meaning of more complex publications. Candidates can write a piece of work, such as an article, report, or letter, which shows an ability to communicate and can be followed throughout. In listening and speaking, candidates can contribute effectively to group discussions such as meetings, seminars, and casual conversations with a very good degree of fluency and show the ability to handle abstract expressions. Candidates can offer feedback and make critical comments and express disagreement without causing offense. Candidates can follow a conversation with very little clarification and can identify meaning and opinion within the conversation. What are the components of the C1 Advanced? Like most Cambridge English exams, the C1 Advanced is divided into 4 papers: Reading and Use of English, Writing, Listening, and Speaking. Here is an overview of each paper. The Reading and Use of English paper lasts 1 hour and 30 minutes. Task types include multiple choice, open-close, word formation, key word transformations, gapped text, and multiple matching. The paper consists of 8 parts in total. Each part has a different task which tests the learner's understanding of grammar, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. These tasks vary in style, but the main focus is to show the candidate's ability to understand a range of English publications, including fiction and non-fiction books, magazines, newspapers, and journals. The writing paper lasts 1 hour and 30 minutes, and task types include an essay and either an article, an informal or formal letter or email, a review, a proposal, or a report. This paper consists of 2 parts in total. The first part is a compulsory essay based on a C1 topic. The second part offers students an opportunity to choose out of 4 possible tasks. Candidates are required to show that they can produce 2 different styles of writing using the correct style and tone for different purposes and readers. The listening paper lasts around 40 minutes. Task types include multiple choice, sentence completion, and multiple matching. This paper consists of 4 parts, and each part requires different skills. Candidates need to show that they are capable of understanding the meaning and opinion of a range of spoken material, including general conversations, interviews, broadcasts, and speeches. And lastly, we have the speaking paper, which is around 15 to 20 minutes long. This paper is divided into 4 parts, and task types include an icebreaker question and answer, an individual long turn, a collaborative task with another candidate, and a discussion. Candidates are expected to participate in a number of tasks, either individually or with their partner, with some interaction from the interlocutor. This part allows the candidate to demonstrate their spoken language skills effectively in a range of contexts.